Alright, welcome everybody. This is going to be a tutorial on the consistent / full game method of God Launch, also known as VyPr's full game God Launch method. There's one other God Launch method which will be coming out shortly after this one, called Harc's Yolo God Launch method, which is used for ILs. So the difference between these two methods, if you're clicking on this video, is that this one loses about 2-ish seconds to the setup, but consistency is roughly 75 to 80%, whereas with Harc's Yolo setup, I would say consistency is more around 30 to 40%. So a big difference when it comes to full game, but that 1 to 2 seconds can mean a lot when it comes to the ILs. So let's go over the trick. So what God Launch is it's a trick that launches the player with this pylon right here, because as soon as you activate it, it moves up and flicks forward. What this does is it essentially smacks the player in the back, launches them towards the wall. Then what we do is redirect off the wall over an invisible barrier right here, and then there is a platform at the top, which I will show in just a minute, which has an entrance into the lift to go up to the next level. Okay, so now before we show the lineup, it's going to be easier to show the jetpack spot, and then we'll move backwards from there. So right here is going to be a black line. As soon as our player goes over this black line, we are going to be jetpacking upwards.
He's altering the tower.
Like that. And this jetpack upwards is going to be consistent on every method, which is from right here. Now to the actual lineup. So this is what I suggest doing for most people. We're going to stand in this corner right here. It's like where this geometry and this geometry meet. Right here, your foot angle doesn't really matter because we'll fix that in a second. So once your reticle is lined up here, I prefer the saw, but AR works too. Now we're going to want to zoom in, same reticle on both. And there's this black line right here, this little tiny black line. What we're going to do is take our 2 vertical lines and line it up with the left side of that black line. Now what this will do in turn is line us up with this set of lines in the back, which is going to be the lineup we want to pull off the trick. Go right there. Once we're here, we're going to sprint forward and jetpack from the spot as said. And then as soon as I jetpack, the timing of the jetpack so that way you fall into the pylon is going to be important. So I will put some still shots of the exact time you should let go of your jetpack here in just a second. But let's go over the actual launch timing. So we're going to sprint forward, jetpack off of our spot.
He's altering the tower.
And that's what God Launch is going to look right there. So that is consistent God Launch. Now, a lot just happened right there. A little bit of small technical things. So I will do that standing in position right here. As soon as you get hit by this pylon, not before, but after you actually get hit, you want to hold D or right on your left thumbstick. This is going to move the player to the right while in the air. Now, because you're moving so fast, it's going to be very minimal, but what it does is it gives you the highest probability of the perfect bounce. So without doing this, I would say your consistency will go down to about 50-50 whether or not you get a good bounce. But because you're moving in the direction that the geometry is pointed at, if you want to use the simplest terms, it will change the direction of the player's momentum into what we call the perfect bounce. It's a lot more technical than that, but it just increases consistency quite a bit. Now as soon as we bounce off this wall, we're going to immediately want to switch to holding A or left on the left thumbstick. So if we don't do this, we'll actually go a little far to the right of the pad at the top and either miss it or it'll be a really sketchy landing, which is not something we really want for full game, because if you overshoot, that's really bad. So we're going to hold left as soon as we do the second bounce, and that's going to give us the best chances of getting a perfect landing and being able to jetpack all the way to the lift and not actually landing on the pad. Okay, so now for the jetpack timings. I'm going to put up some images on screen and just try to follow along the best you can. It'll make sense more as you practice. And this is going to be the same jetpack timing for all methods of God launch. So the first one is going to be when our jetpack, from when we run off the black line, hits the bottom of the flame. There's going to be an image on screen right here. That's where we let go. Now we still remain holding forward. We do not touch any looking keys while we're doing this until after we get launched, like your mouse or your right thumbstick. So as soon as you hit that bottom flame, let go. Now as soon as you get launched, you're going to be waiting for the jetpack to recharge just a little bit. It should recharge up to like the knee or the foot area. As soon as you get hit though, you're going to use all of your jetpack while holding right. Then you're probably going to get close to the bounce there. Then you're going to wait for it to recharge between the foot and the knee. Now, I suggest doing the knee personally because I find that to be easiest as a controller player. But you do have some leeway, and there's going to be an image on screen here as well. And that will be your jetpack timing. So let's do the whole thing one more time, and then go over some bad case scenarios.
He's altering the tower.
So there was actually a really close call right there. So if you feel like your bounce is what we call the too good bounce, where it sends you slightly upwards, and there's an invisible ceiling right here. Let me try to hit it. Yeah, right there. I'm hitting the invisible ceiling. So if you feel like you're gonna hit the invisible ceiling, delay your jetpack timing until it's past the knee, all the way to the fist if you'd like. Because something that's worse than the bad bounce is going to be hitting the ceiling, because it's extremely hard to recover the ceiling being hit, but you can recover a bad bounce. Our other scenario that we need to worry about is you probably heard it, but the bad bounce. So let's line up. And now for myself to force this, I'm actually going to be holding left on the movement stick as we launch. Don't do this in a run, but I just want to show what happens if you maybe mess up the jetpack timing a little bit.
He's altering the tower.
So right there, if you notice you get the bad bounce, let go of jetpack. That will force you to never go over the barrier. As soon as you hit the wall, which you'll never die on, wait until you recharge most of your jetpack and just slowly descend down to here. This will give you the, as we used to call, the full game launch.
I'm seeing a control facility at the top of the tower.
And you
We
can
need to be
just,
there
I suggest picking up
yesterday.
these for the Banshees and then going straight up. Just like this. Now that's everything you have to worry about. If you're not actually getting hit by the pylon, that's because you're jetpacking for too long. And so your flame is probably getting to somewhere around here. So remember, bottom of the flame, and you can let go a little earlier than what you think. Now if you're getting killed, you're letting go too early. Somewhere in between the kill and the flame is where I'm guessing that's happening. Just to hold on a little longer. This trick should be fairly simple, and you should have really good consistency for it. Now once you get used to this trick, I suggest going to the Harc's variation of God Launch, which will be up in the corner.